Hello friends, welcome back to PLC Programming Tutorial, and let's continue with the questions related to timers. Question number 3, we have code a ladder logic that when X0 is on, Y0 should be on for 10 seconds and then off. So this is very simple logic, so let's begin. Okay, so we need input contact and output coils, and also we need a push button. So I drag and drop this push button, and I go to ladder for PLC and take this contact, normally open contact, and output energizer coil. Okay, so we need a timer so that we can turn off the output coil after 10 seconds. So for that we need a timer, and I also need to latch the output, and I connect both the contacts in parallel. And to unlatch the output, I need a normally closed contact. Okay, so let's connect timer, and I go to ladder for PLC, timers, and drag and drop this timer. And I have to connect it in parallel with the output coil. And we have connected the EN bit with this point, and now we will configure all these components. So the first component, we have this normally open contact, and I associate with the input 0, and this contact with the output of the timer, because we have to unlatch the output coil after 10 seconds, and for that we have to connect this contact. This is a normally closed contact, and that will become opened when it will get a signal from a timer, that is from DN bit, and I select this DN bit and associate it. Okay, so we have to latch the output also, and first I associate it with the output 0, and this contact with this output address. Okay, so we have made, so let's simulate it. So when I press the push button, the output goes latch, and the timer also starts, and after the 10 seconds this DN bit will becomes open and the output goes unlatched. So we have successfully done our first question. So let's begin our second question. Code a ladder logic that when X0 is on, then Y0 should be on, and after 10 seconds Y1 should be on, and when X1 is turned on, Y0 should be off, and after 10 seconds Y1 should be off. Here X0 and X1 are NO push buttons. So let's begin building this ladder logic. I remove all these components. Okay, so let's begin building this ladder logic, and we need a NO push button, and here we have already. And what we need a contact, normally open contacts, in order to latch the first output, that is Y0, and we need also a normally closed contact in order to unlatch the first output. I need a output energizer coil, and I connect it, and I need a timer which I will be connecting in the parallel with the first output. Okay, so what we need now is we have to unlatch the first output, but before that we have to, after the 10 seconds, we have to latch the second output, and for that I have to connect the second output with the DN bit. So for that I need another contacts, normally open contacts, and I connect it over here. Okay, so we also need to latch our second output, and for that I have connected two contacts in parallel, and we also need to unlatch our the second output, and for that we have connected a normally closed contact, and we also need the output energizer coil. Okay, so what we need now is another timer in order to unlatch the second output, because in question we have that when x1 is on, y0 should be off, and after 10 seconds the second output, that is y1, should be off. So we need to turn off the second output after 10 seconds, and for that we need a timer, and also we need more push buttons. So for that I go to electrical control GIC standard again, and connect some push buttons over here. And now we have to connect another timer, so I go to timers and connect another timer. What will be happening that when I press the second push button, the first output will automatically unlatch due to this normally closed contact, and after 10 seconds the second output, that is y1, will be unlatched, and for that I have connected a timer, and I have to also latch the timer in order to turn on for 10 seconds, and I need more contacts, so I take normally open contact over here, and to latch the timer I take another contact and connect both of them in parallel. Okay, so we need to reset this whole ladder logic, and for that I take another normally closed contact and connect it like this. So in order to reset this timer, I have to connect another push button in order that when I press it, this timer goes reset. So I take another push button so we have placed all the components and linked them together. So now it's time to associate all these components. So first contact we have is this one, and I associate it with the input 0, and this normally closed contact with the input 1, because I have to unlatch the output when I press the second push button. And I have also to associate this output with out 0, and I have to latch the output. So for that I connect it, associate it with the output coil. So I have associated with this output coil address. So now I have to configure this timer, and I double click on it and connect its EN bit with the output 1, because output 0 is already associated with the first coil. So now let's associate this contact. So what will be happening that when the timer goes on and after 10 seconds the DN bit goes on, and I have to latch the second output, and I have to connect this contact with the DN bit. And which DN bit? The L9 timer DN bit. So I select this DN bit of L9 timer and associate it. So now I have to connect the second output with output 2, and I have to latch the output also. So I connect it with this address. Okay, so in order to unlatch the second output, that is Y1, after the 10 seconds, so we have to connect this bit, this normally closed contact, with the DN of L19 timer. So after the 10 seconds, this DN bit turns on and it will send a signal to this normally closed contact and it becomes open. And so for that I have to connect this normally closed contact with the DN bit of L19. And I have to also turn on this timer when I press the second input, the second push button, and for that I connect it with the input 1. And I have to also latch the timer in order to make it in the online condition. and for that I connect its EN bit. And finally I have to reset this timer in order to start this process again. So for that I connect this normal closed contact with the input 2, that when I press it, it will automatically reset this timer. So I connect it with the input 2. Okay, so we have done. We have to only connect all these outputs with the 24 volts. Okay, so we have done. So let's simulate it. Okay, so when I press the first push button, the output goes latch and the first timer goes on, and after 10 seconds this DN bit turns on and latch the second output. So the both outputs are latched. So now I have to unlatch the first output and after 10 seconds the second output. So for that I press the second push button and the timer goes on and the first output is unlatched, and after 10 seconds the second output also unlatched. So and finally we have to reset this timer because we have to make multiple process of this diagram. And for that I have connected this third push button to reset. So when I press it, the timer goes reset. So I hope you have understood this ladder logic, and it is easy, not so difficult. Only you have to know how to place all these components together, and then it becomes very easy. So see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.